Welcome to the How Soccer Explains Leadership podcast, where we explore leadership principles through the lens of the beautiful game.
Welcome back to How Soccer Explains Leadership. Thanks again for being a part of the conversation we are having on this show. I'm Phil Dark, your host, and with me today again is my co-host, Paul Jobson. Today we're kind of mixing it up a little bit because Paul's going to be asking me some questions today. So why are we doing that, Paul? What's going on?
Well, Phil, first of all, it's time to mix it up a little bit. I think I said on a previous podcast, I think you're overworked and underpaid on the podcast, and maybe I need to step up a little bit. But no, I think for the last number of shows or whatever, you've been teasing all of us with the coaching the bigger game program, and we keep hearing tidbits of it, and you're throwing in some different things, and I think folks would just love to hear a little bit more about coaching the bigger game, what you and Christian are doing. And I think just taking this opportunity for you to tell us a little bit about, kind of where that all came from and what you guys are doing with coaching the bigger game.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool how it all happened because started this podcast a year and a half ago or so, and I've always had the vision to multiply leaders. I've just always felt that I love helping people who help people, right? So I love, as I know, help people flourish and make good things better. That's my why. I've said it many times on here. And I've always had a heart for the leaders who will multiply leaders. So I can help, basically if I can get coaches who have impact over tens, sometimes hundreds of people, that's what I love pouring into. And so that's kind of the background. And then throughout, this podcast, I've been meeting really cool people. And one of them was Christian DeVries, and he has some different programs for athletes. He's got this program called Athletes of Significance, which is similar to Warrior Way, where it's talking about, hey, sports is more than just playing a game and going out and winning or losing. It can develop you into the person that you're created to be, and it can bring out a lot of things that other things will not bring out if you're intentional about it. And so I talked to them about that, and he said, hey, I'd love for you to help out in some of these things. And I said, well, really my heart is with the coaches, because the coaches are who are impacting, so many more people. And not that I don't care about the individual. Of course I do. I'm a coach. I love coaching individuals and I love building them up. But if we're doing something like this, I just really have a heart for coaches, because most coaches, we get trained on the X's and O's, so to speak. We get trained on the, any certification program. It's going into how you can do training plans, how you can do your practices, the different things to be able to get the, first touch to be solid, to be able to have, run a 4-3-3, the different formations. What are you doing, right? So it's all about the game itself. And so what I said is, how can we train them on the people side of the game? How can we train them on how to develop the human beings? Because how often do you get unfettered access to people for 5 days a week in the case of high school, college, or 7 days a week sometimes, to be able to develop them into who they can be, right? And so we focus a lot on the soccer piece, but we don't focus a lot on the people piece of it. Yeah. So that was something that I just said, how can we do that? And what does that look like? And it was interesting because also I've been, as we've talked about on the show, I've been kind of piloting this unbeknownst to me. I didn't realize I was going to be creating a program, but with the high school team that I coach, to be able to say, hey, how can we, do the people side? How can we incorporate DISC into it? How can we incorporate best practice organizational health principles into a high school team? Does that even work? And I found out, yeah, it does work. We just had our banquet the other night with the team, and it was so awesome just to be a part of these girls' lives and to be able to send some off to college and get excited to see how they're going to be leaders wherever they go, whether they play soccer or not. It really has nothing to do with this side of it. Whether they play soccer the rest of their life or they stop in high school, hey, they're going to use these principles the rest of their life. That's why we did this podcast. So Christian and I talked, and Christian said, actually, it's funny you say that, because my heart is coaches as well. And I've had this program kind of on the shelf that I've been wanting to develop in my mind. And I've been waiting for someone to come along to help me build it out. And so we've spent time together over the last several months building this program, and now we're ready to launch it. We're going to be launching it in April. and which is when this is going to be releasing. So if you're listening to this, definitely check out the show notes for the link. You can go to coachingthebiggergame.com, but if you forget that for whatever reason, you can go check out the link. You can go there. You can sign up for more information and sign up to start the program, and we can get on a call and figure out what the best fit is for you as far as the aspects of the program.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. I mean, there are so many programs out there for coaches as it pertains to the technical, tactical aspects of the game, right? How do you plug in? How can you be a better coach on the field? How can you, train your players to be better? How to develop players? But as we all know in leadership, you got to lead yourself first, right? And you need to know how to lead people, but taking care of yourself also. So I think programs for coaches is an overlooked, I hate to say niche, but it really is overlooked. And as a coach, it's something that be very favorable, especially had I had it early in my career too. Not that you can't, it's not good to have, throughout your career, but I think a lot about a lot of young coaches. But had the opportunity to finally meet Christian at the United Soccer Coaches Convention with you, and super impressed with him, and just seeing you guys kind of work together and how you guys converse. I'm really excited about what you guys are putting together and can't wait to see how this all kind of plays itself out and to start hearing the responses. I know, because I know you and Christian, and I know what you guys are putting into this and how valuable this is going to be, but I can't wait to kind of get on the other side of it and hear the responses that people are going to have after they've gone through this program. Can you give us just a little bit of like, what's the process? Like, how does the program, how's it structured? How does it kind of actually work? If I'm a coach who's interested in the things that you're saying, how would that kind of work for me if I was going to dive into this thing?
Absolutely. And I just want to take one more step back and say, what we're talking about doing is really to empower coaches, and hopefully coaches you're listening, or people who know coaches. We're talking to people about, hey, if you know coaches who really want to have a greater impact on their players and the teams they coach, they really want to not just have it be about winning and losing games and that being the gauge of success. This is for them, and we're talking to people that say, hey, if you're looking for gifts to give your coaches at the end of the season, rather than a gift card to Applebee's or whatever you're giving them a gift card to, give them this program, because this will actually help them to develop in who they are. And it will give back to your kids and other kids like your kids to be able to help them to be better too, because, they're having so much impact on your players. Man, this will help them to really do it more intentionally. So on that note, as you talked about it, it really goes through the first part is we talk about elevate significance in sports. So we talk about elevate yourself, really, to be able to build yourself and your self-leadership up, to be able to be a stronger self-leader. And that really goes starting with your why. Discover your why, your life purpose. You hear me ask that question all the time on this show. And it always is interesting to me how few people have actually really thought through what is their life purpose. These are some great leaders, and some of them are like, yeah, that's something I've thought about doing and I just haven't done. Well, when you do it, you actually have a filter that you can use to put everything through. And so it's just we walk through that. We walk through, and we talked about starting, with your eulogy, starting with the end in mind. We do that. We walk through them and help them understand that. To develop the mission, then we go into really self-awareness, DISC, and then self-care, how we can be able to take care of ourselves. If we're not healthy, we're not going to be able to lead healthy. Right. And then after the self-leadership conversation, we go into leading the individual player, because if we have a bunch of unhealthy individuals, it's also going to be very hard to have a healthy team, no matter how healthy we as a leader are. So that second part is, how can we communicate and connect with each player? How can we challenge and empower our players? What does that look like? There will be strategies for that. There will be exercises for that. There will be practicing. A lot of that is helping them understand the things you learned in the self-leadership part as well. So that's the second part. And then the last part, which is what I think a lot of people skip to when they talk about the people side. Most people just say, hey, how do we get a healthy culture? And we've talked a lot about healthy culture on this, but it's really hard to have a healthy culture without having a healthy coach and a healthy individual players. As you know, we've talked about that. If you have a couple toxic players on the team, it's very contagious. Those viruses, as we know about viruses, they're very contagious, right? And they can literally shut down a society. They can also shut down a team. And so that's something that we talk about last on purpose, elevating the team, talking about culture, talking about accountability, talking about inclusion, talking about it in the sense of how can we really have healthy leadership teams, how can we have healthy team cultures, and how can we also have consistency in team culture, but understand how it needs to evolve as well with each new player and new year, as we've talked. I mean, we talked a lot about that on your interview, and I actually have, your interview as part of the curriculum. So this podcast will be part of the curriculum, but it's mostly just a lot of stuff that Christian and I have learned over the years. So you're basically getting our collective wisdom of decades of coaching and leadership in different capacities, being able to help you get a huge head start if you're younger, or even if you're older and been doing this a long time and never really thought about these things at these dip levels. I hope we get different intergenerational people to be able to come in and be a part of that, to share each other's wisdom with each other. The last part of it is just leave a legacy. What is your unique mark you can leave on this world? So we talk about that. What does that look like with all the other things that we have learned? So that's really the program in and of itself. And then we have 3 different ways you can go through it as well. One is self-guided. If you just want to do it on your own, and it'll be an online course. You'll go through the modules on your own without additional feedback from us. That's one option, and we'll have that if you're just a self-starter and you don't like to talk to other people. Chances are you're not a coach if that's you. But, there are some people who will just say, hey, you know what, I don't have time to do anything else, so I'm just going to get the self-guided. That will get you that will get you results. As much as you put into it, you can get out of it. What I really think are the other two parts of it that really will help you to be able to go deeper. One is monthly teaching calls. We'll have coaching calls that you will be able to hop on calls with Christian and me, and we will walk you through the program and be able to, you can ask questions. We'll be able to answer questions. You'll do that in a group setting and be able to hear from others. The thing I love about the group setting is sometimes they ask questions you didn't even know you had, right? And so you can hear all of that. And the last, which I think is like the gold standard package, is the mastermind. That's coaching in a cohort. Basically, we will have 10 to 15 coaches from all over the country, hopefully the world, to be part of these cohorts. That, again, you'll go through that with them. You'll go through the program together, build relationships with each other. We'll retreat once a year where we'll get together in person. And on top of it all, we're going to bring in other experts in all these different areas. So, for instance, when we talk about self-care, we'll bring in mental health experts that we've had on the show and other people who we know to be able to come in and help you understand deeper about how to go into these things that we're talking about in the program itself. So it's just going to be something that I hope and pray will be transformational, not just for the individual people who will be part of it, but for the game itself, because we will start having this be a norm in clubs and in coaches and in people, rather than just be this exception that we say, oh yeah, there's this really cool coach I had, and this one coach that made an impact on me, and I wish all the coaches were like that. Well, we can be. We just need to be intentional about it and put the work in and understand ourselves, understand our individuals, and then be able to have that great team culture.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's extremely valuable. And like I said earlier, and you even mentioned, for a coach of any experience, but especially if you are a coach yourself or you're a parent of a player who has a coach, this could be so beneficial for their development and growth. Like I said, I wish, this is something I'm going to enjoy the journey with you through this, but I know as a younger coach could have been very, very valuable because like you said, you step into coaching, and you want to do it for the right reasons. You want to do it for the kids, and that leads you to what kind of culture do I want, blah, blah, blah. But if you don't have the base and the foundation in place, you find yourself as a coach scrambling all the time to create the right culture, because maybe it's like, you hit the jackpot every once in a while, and maybe you get lucky and you get it right. And all of a sudden, why is my culture great now at one point, and then it sags? It's because you don't have the pieces in place. The foundation isn't right to have the consistency of what you're trying to bring to the table. And I think the program that you guys have put together is really going to be formational and foundational for a lot of coaches. And I'm excited about it. I know you'll have Christian on at some point. I know you're going to do an interview with Christian at some point,
yes,
to go more depth into this, but excited for people to have the opportunity to jump on the website and dive in and get in touch with you about what you guys are doing.
Yeah, so we just wanted to give a little taste, like you said. I'll get Christian on so you can meet him and hear from him and his heart for this, which I've grown to love this guy like a brother. And I'm excited to get this thing going because I know it will impact teams. And I want to see teams be impacted like the teams I've been able to impact and you've been able to impact, and to be able to bring that to others and help others to understand that it's not just luck of the draw of we had this great group of girls or a great group of guys. It's something that you can intentionally create. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of relationship building and trust building, that there are ways to make it a lot more likely than if you just kind of wing it. So hopefully we can help people not just wing it, not just go for one, a half-hour seminar that you went to at a conference or something you heard online, but something that you can really pour into and commit to it as you would any certification program. People go over to Europe to get certification programs to learn better drills. This is something you can do from your home, and to be able to meet up with a lot of people from all over who are like-minded in really growing themselves. So I'm excited. If you can't tell, I'm excited about it. I don't know. Can you tell, Paul?
Because I can tell, man.
All right.
It's been fun to watch this process over the last little bit. I kind of come to fruition. I'm pumped that this thing is launched and out there, and that people are going to benefit greatly. As a coach and as a brother of yours, I'm excited about what you're bringing to the table, because I think it's just going to be great for our players in the long run. And like you said, developing others to develop others is a big piece of what I think we're all in it for. So, man, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for those that take advantage of this, and looking forward to seeing where this goes, man. Any last comments on this before we head out of this segment?
Nope. No, I think you can just go check it all out at the HowSoccerExplainsLeadership.com show notes. You can, if you don't want to go to the show notes, just go straight to coachingthebiggergame.com. You've heard that website quite a bit over the course of this podcast, and I wouldn't share if I wasn't excited about it. So you have that, and as always, as we sign off, I just hope that you're taking what you're learning from this show and you're using it to help you be a better leader. You're using it to help you be a better spouse, better parent, and you're continually reminding yourself that soccer does explain life and leadership. Thanks a lot. Have a great week.